When tempers flare. By the end of this video, we're gonna have a strategy for 5 simple techniques to diffuse high tension situations. So let me take you back to a moment that I'm not particularly proud of. It was during a high stakes project at a previous company. The deadline was breathing down our necks, and tensions in the conference room were so thick that you could slice them with a butter knife. I was leading the meeting when 2 team leads, let's call them Jim and Karen, they started butting heads over resource allocation. So voices rose, eyes narrowed, and just like that, the meeting spiraled into chaos. I could feel my heart pounding. I was getting sweaty palms. I could feel, the heat rising. But instead of jumping in to fix it, which could be a rookie mistake, I paused and I used a technique that I had learned from my conflict management toolkit. I asked a simple question to myself and a simple question to the group. What's the real concern here? What problem are we trying to solve? And boom, silence. That single question shifted the energy in the room. It forced both parties to move from attack mode to problem-solving mode. And within minutes, we were back on track and we actually finished the meeting ahead of schedule. That day, I realized that diffusing tension isn't about overpowering a situation. It's not about winning. It's about guiding it. And guess what? Science backs this up and agrees. If you've ever found yourself in a similar situation, whether it's navigating a heated team meeting, a client dispute, or even a family argument, here are 5 research-backed techniques to keep you in check and to keep in your back pocket when these tensions rise. The first tip is label the emotion without judging it. So when people are heated, emotions run the show, right? A study by UCLA psychologist Dr. Matthew Lieberman found that labeling emotions can reduce activity in the amygdala, the brain's fight or flight center, by up to 50%, believe it or not. So try something like this. Say something like, I can sense that there's a lot of frustration here. Let's take a step back. Or something like I used the other day when I was in a tense meeting, intense situation. Let's try to untie the knot here. Let's try to unravel what's going on to really understand where the gaps are. So this shows that you're acknowledging emotions without invalidating them, helping to de-escalate the situation. A second tip is use tactical silence. So pause before reacting. I always suggest to friends and clients and people that I know, always take a breath, whether it's a good conversation or a bad, because then it's something that becomes a habit. Silence is a power move. According to research from Harvard Business Review, pausing for just even 3 to 5 seconds before responding in a high-stakes conversation, it increases the likelihood of a positive outcome by up to 60%. I'll take that. So a tip here is, instead of reacting immediately, you know how we're listening to respond because we're getting all ticked off and we can feel our emotions, really rising? Stop yourself. Start doing some deep breathing. Maybe you don't want to make it super obvious, but pause yourself and try to start really listening. And instead of reacting, pause and count to 5. Let the silence do the heavy lifting. It's an uncomfortable silence. It's uncomfortable for us, but it's more uncomfortable for them because you're not reacting. So often people will fill the space by recalibrating their own tone. So let them be in the hot seat as they are trying to stir emotions in you. A third tip is act and ask some very neutral, open-ended questions. So try to act neutral. I know that's really tough. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. So it's tough for me to have that neutral or poker face. So if you want to flip the script, ask a question that encourages reflection. Neuroscientists at the Neuro Leadership Institute say that open-ended questions, they engage the brain's prefrontal cortex, which shifts people from an emotional response to a logical one. And that's where we want to live, is in logic. So for example, you might want to say, what outcome are we both hoping for here? This subtly redirects focus from the problem to making it a solution discussion. A fourth tip is let's mirror and paraphrase to build trust. So Chris Voss, former FBI negotiator and author of Never Split the Difference, an awesome book, so if you haven't read it, I highly suggest it. He swears by mirroring, repeating the last few words that someone says to show you're actively listening. So studies show that mirroring can increase trust by 31% in high-stakes negotiations. So how does this work? If they say something like, this timeline is impossible, you could reply with, impossible? Making that a question. Pause and let them elaborate. Put it back on them. When you're in any conversation or anything uncomfortable, do these techniques to put the onus on them to respond and create that uncomfortable silence for them. It shows empathy and it invites them to explain further, often cooling down their frustration because it makes it sound like you're interested in what they have to say. A fifth tip is offer an out to save face. So people often dig their heels in when they feel trapped, right? It's like trapping an animal. They're like doing everything they can to get out of the corner, right? Research from Stanford University highlights that when individuals are given a dignified out, they're 40% more likely to de-escalate and to cooperate. So try something like this. Say something like, I get that this is a tough spot for you. Maybe we can take a break and circle back. This gives the other person a graceful way to step back without losing face, right? Because they know that they're losing this argument, but if you can somehow walk away, say, let's revisit this. I have another meeting right now. I'd like to really focus on resolving this. It gives everybody a break and a time to really think about what do I want to say next, right? So the truth is, high tension situations, they don't have to end in disaster. Whether it's a business negotiation or a heated conversation with a colleague, mastering these techniques, it puts you back into control. So the next time you find yourself in a high stakes moment, try one or maybe all of these techniques and watch how the atmosphere shifts. And who knows, you might just become the go-to person for resolving workplace drama. Bonus points for that, right? Not sure that we want to be that person either. So which of these techniques do you think would work best in your next high stakes situation? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. So if you found this content valuable, please consider sharing. Please consider subscribing. Thank you for joining me here today, and we will see you on the next video.